Hello, everyone. Welcome to Be the Boss of Your Money. I'm Mitch Goldberg. This is my live stream. It's all about personal finance, investing tips, debt management, saving for college, college loans, retirement planning, retirement accounts, financial planning, insurance, so many things that fall under the umbrella of personal finance. So that's what this is about. This is my live stream. I'm very excited about it. I know your time is so valuable. So I want to thank you for spending some of it with me. So we're watching Be the Boss of Your Money. Well, you're watching, I'm doing. But we're both going to learn a lot from this and have a good time. If you're watching this in the live stream, I'd like to welcome you. Certainly hit me up with any questions you may have in the comments. Words of encouragement are always appreciated, and your sage advice is always appreciated as well. Let's all share and learn from each other. Couple of things we need to go over today. Basically, it's back to the FAANGM stocks, which is something we've been talking about ad nauseum for the last almost a year now. But something's changed. Well, something's happened. Something's been reinforced. The FAANGM stocks, that's the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, and Microsoft. Those stocks have been leading the market basically for the last year, since the bottom of since the stock market hit a bottom last March. So it's almost a year. And they've been leading the way, the work from home, stay at home stocks. And then industrials, financials caught a bid, energy caught a bid. So we need to make sure we're in the right place. My feeling from the beginning is don't just be in work from home, stay at home stocks, and don't just be in economy reopening stocks. You need both. Okay, so let's get into this. We're going to roll the quick intro, and then we're going to have some fun and learn a couple of things. Here we go. All right. Welcome back to you. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you sticking around. Nice intro. We do this every day at 4:30. Today was a little bit later at 4:40, but generally speaking, every Monday through Thursday, I do a 4:30 live stream. Did I ever tell you how this live stream started? A little bit of history, just a little bit of history about how I got started with the live stream, because it wasn't just like one day I decided to live stream every day and, I had all the equipment and all the know-how. This has been a work in progress over many, many years. So just to tie it all together and bring it home for you, a long time ago when I was a somewhat of a neophyte in the industry, so I'm going back to very late 89, early 1990. I used to, it's not like we all had computers, and the industry's changed so much, but we had like a box in front of us with like it was like a black screen with green flashing letters, but it was not like the elegant computers that you see today. But I used to keep my notes, I would write all my notes, what I'm going to talk to clients about. And it was really important at the end of the day to have all your ducks in a row. And mentally, for me, I would write down what happened in the day as far as the stock market goes, the economy does, because I learned from it. And I'm a very big believer that when you write things down, there's a connection from your handwriting to your brain in terms of remembering things, memorizing things, and learning from things. And then you start to see patterns and you keep doing it. And then those would become my talking points with clients, because it was all over the phone. And you'd have your conversations with clients. It would be more or less the same, most of the same stuff about the market, the economy. Alan Greenspan, who was the chairman of the Federal Reserve at the time. This is back when the G7, was a big deal, a group of 7 nations. It was Canada, United States, Japan, Italy, Great Britain, Germany, and France. That was the G7, and it was all about managing currencies. And back then, there was no euro. It was the Germany had the Deutschmark. So the big four currencies in the world was the Japanese yen, the US dollar, the pound sterling, and the German Deutschmark. France had the French francs. Italy had the Italian lira. Canada had the Canadian dollar, which they still do. But the Europeans are all on the euro now. So currencies, I think, were a little bit more esoteric back then. So anyway, I would take the notes, and it would be my talking points. And then one day, when fax machines became more broadly adopted, I would send out like a blast fax to a few hundred people, and then that would work out well. And I would put it into letters. There was no email at the time. I would put everything into a letter and mail out the letters. I'd have myself, 2 or 3 assistants. We would like sit there and stuff envelopes at like 10 o'clock at night in Manhattan to get them into the mail the next day. And then email came around, and the blast emails started going out. And then I started to do a weekly blast email, and it started to get picked up by the media. And then I started getting quoted and some TV appearances. And then I started to write. I've written many articles for CNBC. And then they're all on my website if you want to check them out. And then I started to do more in terms of content creation. And then about 2011, I made my first YouTube video ever. My biggest regret, by the way, of that is not that I made the YouTube video. My biggest regret is that I didn't make a video like every week. The video was something you did every month or every other month when you had the time, and it was a whole big setup. I wish I'd done it consistently back in 2011 when I made my first video. But about 2 or 3 years ago, I got more and more into video, and then I wanted to do live streaming. I thought live streaming on Facebook would be really cool, but I didn't want to just push out a live stream to like my 500 friends on Facebook. I have more friends than that now because I've gotten a little more popular since then. Okay, so but my commitment to social media was I was always into LinkedIn. That was always my favorite social media. It's good for it just fit a lot of needs. It gave me a personal fulfillment like social media should, a little dopamine hit. I enjoyed seeing what my business professional friends were doing, and I was very into business networking. And I felt, LinkedIn, I had worked at numerous firms, and I worked at numerous firms in Long Island, in Manhattan. And it was nice to keep in touch with, former colleagues. And then when LinkedIn Live came around, I was like, I've got to get this. So I applied for LinkedIn Live, and like everybody else, I was rejected like immediately. And I applied again, and I put into the online application, my YouTube channel that I've done some lives before. Never heard back from LinkedIn. And then one day I'm on LinkedIn on the desktop feature, and I see this little red dot on the left side of the screen, and it said, "You now have access to LinkedIn Live." And I was like, holy bleep. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited, and I have thousands of connections there. And I'm like, I could really have a lot of fun with this. And I enjoy the whole camera thing and the live streaming. I love the technology. So I tried a live stream through a company. You can't just stream directly to LinkedIn Live. You have to use, I forget what it's called. You have to use a company like Restream or StreamYard. I use StreamYard. That's the only company I've ever used for live streaming, and I have to say I love it. And I started to stream. I tested that on like a Saturday afternoon on like a cold, snowy day. I don't know. It was kind of cool. It was like a year and a half ago. I did like a 5-minute live stream just to test out the equipment on a Saturday, thinking no one's going to see it. And I couldn't believe how many people watched it and commented. So, and that's what started with the live streaming. So I'd already done video. I'm already really good with editing. I use Camtasia, and I've done well over 100 YouTube videos. So it's just a general progression. But that's how I got into the live streaming. So it didn't just start with live streaming. It was because of the notes that I used to take when I was like 22 years old. At the end of the day, I'm 53 now, and the notes would become letters, would become faxes, would become emails, would become consistent emails, would become articles for my own clientele, that would become articles for major media outlets. I started getting quoted a lot in the major media, and one thing led to the next. And that's how this whole live stream came around. It was really just it wasn't a revolution. It was an evolution. And now I love the live streaming. I've got a multi-camera setup. I could do things like this and say, hey, look at that multi-camera. I'm getting another camera, by the way, probably in a couple days. And I could have a 3-camera setup plus a 4th camera. It's not really a camera. The computer recognizes it that way, but it's a share screen. So I'm really excited about this stuff. And I have to say, I'm enjoying the journey like you can't believe. So that's what I'm up to. All right. So, and I have a mixing board. I'm going to do a whole video about the whole live stream about this. So that's how this whole thing started. And we have a comment out there. I see you, Jeffrey. Do we short Amazon because Bezos is leaving? That's actually like a big part of what the story is about today, is about the FAANGM stock. So let's get into that, and I'll give you your answer in a little bit. Got to keep you hanging on for a little while, right, Jeff? If I just say yes or no, short it or not, you're going to get off. No, I'm kidding. My short answer is it depends on your situation. My long answer is I'm not making any changes with regard to Amazon Holdings because Bezos is moving on. He's still going to be the executive chairman. The difference between, by the way, a chairman of the board and an executive chairman, the difference is an executive chairman is very involved and is still working. Unlike a chairman of the board who they oversee things, they get together with the board of directors. An executive chairman is actually still working, and that's somebody who is very involved with the company and who will be speaking to the CEO a lot. I also want to point out that I think Jeff Bezos, he's divorced, so his net worth is lower than it used to be, but he's one of the wealthiest people in the world. Tens of billions of dollars tied up in Amazon. So I don't think, and he's a young man, Jeff Bezos is, he's still a young man. I don't think he would turn over the reins of the company to a different executive. This guy who's coming in, he's not a new executive. He's the one who steered the company into cloud, Amazon Web Services, which is the most important, most profitable part of Amazon. I don't think Jeff Bezos is going to turn over all that. I don't think Jeff Bezos is going to turn over all of that wealth to someone if he didn't have complete confidence in that person. So I don't really think it's an issue. And I think the example is of a successful CEO who's taken over from a founder is Apple, Tim Cook from Jeff Bezos. It's not exactly the same. Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple. I totally messed that up. Tim Cook from Steve Jobs. Okay. So that's the example. Like, look what happened to Apple when Tim Cook took over the helm of Apple from Steve Jobs. And look how well Apple's done. Now, unfortunately, Steve Jobs is no longer around, and would have been really cool if you could have seen the progress of the company, what they've done, and who knows what kind of amazing things we'd have from the brilliant mind of Steve Jobs. But anyway, that's my main answer to answer your question. Hope you'll stick around now. Okay. Keith is out there. Mitchell, you are reinventing live streams. Keith, is this like the Keith compliments Mitch Day? Because you gave me the nicest compliment with one of my posts on LinkedIn today. I was like, wow, that's really nice. Like, I should take a screenshot of it. And whenever I'm having a bad day and I need like a positive reaffirmation, I should look at what you said to me on LinkedIn, your comment. That was really beautiful, man. And I so greatly appreciate it. So let's jump in. The title, the intro to today's live stream, okay, is all about this. FAANGM reassures investors, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, Microsoft. So let's do the share screen thing. Let's jump in over here. All right, there it is. You could see it. Let me put my handsome mug in here. All right, you see me? I'm up in the upper right-hand corner there. I got the picture-in-picture going. So let's just take a look at this, okay? So this is Google up over 7%. I mean, Google's up $140 a share, which is an astounding move for a company this size. 7% on a company worth, what, $1.5 trillion, $1.7 trillion. That's a massive move. That is like multiples, just that amount, multiples bigger than most of the companies in the S&P 500. Microsoft was just down to like 218, 219, pops up to 243. Facebook is off a touch today, no big deal. It just had a nice rally. Apple is down into the 1-teens, no big deal, is off a little bit today, but these stocks were up yesterday nicely. Netflix had a huge day recently. Earnings, and Amazon beat today with earnings and revenues and just firing on all cylinders. Okay, the fact that it was up all day and closed off a little bit lower in the day, a little bit of profit taking, but the stock was just like 3,100 and went to 3,400. So I'm not surprised that there's a little bit of profit taking. But here's the takeaway, and what I want you to take away from these. We talk about these stocks. These are the biggest stocks, biggest publicly traded stocks. I'm not including Tesla in here, although I don't know how I would make the initials FAANGM, this FAANGM. I'm not sure where I would put the T in there. But anyway, these stocks are the biggest companies, massive companies. And when they go up, they pull the market with them. When they go down, they pull the market down with them. But what I want you to take away is that they've all now come out. What I want you to take away is that all of these companies have finally announced their Q4 2020 numbers, and they all reported outstanding results in terms of revenues and earnings. And it was, not too long ago, Netflix was up like 18% a few weeks ago when Netflix reported earnings. The stock popped 18% in one day. For a company as big as Netflix to be able to go up 18% in a day, that just blows my mind how much wealth was generated in that one trade, that one day. So these stocks have justified their leadership in the market. They've justified their valuations, in my opinion, because they reported the numbers that all six of these companies have reported over the last few weeks have been incredible. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So we've got our leadership back, but they haven't moved up because money rotated out of economically sensitive stocks like industrials, financials. They're holding up pretty well too, and their numbers are coming in really good. This has to get you at least a little bulled up on stocks, that the earnings are not just holding up, but going up. In fact, the NSM numbers, the non-manufacturing numbers, so the service sector of the economy, ISM number came out today, was reported at 58.7. Anything over 50 is considered expansionary. It's the 8th month in a row of growth in the service sector. That includes restaurants. So the fact that the service sector is doing well tells you that things are moving along. The economy is opening up. I don't think the vaccinations have made a dent yet because so few people have received their second vaccination, but it's happening. And I think something like 20 million injections now have been around. I have to look that up, but it's happening. So let's take a quick look. I want to share with you 3 dividend stocks that I like. Thank you, Keith. Thumbs up, buddy. Watch this. Thumbs up. Okay, so let's get back to screen 1. I want to share with you 3 dividend-paying stocks whose earnings weren't justifying the dividends that I felt were faced a possibility of a dividend cut. But these companies' earnings, their fundamentals have improved somewhat. Because they have. That you saw the earnings and revenues. This is all public information. So I'm going to share with you those three stocks. Okay, let's just put me back up here. One of them is AT&T, and I posted about this before. Is AT&T's dividend really safe? And their dividend is over 7%. The stock has been, the stock has been dead money for the better part of a couple of years. So, but their earnings are finally starting to show up a little better, and they had a really good, better than expected earnings report. And they're able to, it looks like they're really able to maintain their dividend. Okay. The next one is Chevron. And I recently put out a live stream about this and a couple of posts about this, where I see value in energy stocks and bank stocks. So you take a look at Chevron, 5.8% dividend yield. So there are dividends to be had that I'm feeling comfortable that the company's fundamentals will justify maintaining these dividends. There's nothing worse than buying a stock that's propped up just because of the dividend, and then you buy it, and then the company cuts a dividend, and now you're holding on to a company with not such a great dividend yield and a company with not such great fundamentals. And that's not really a good position. This is why I always say, don't buy stocks just because of a dividend. You've got to have the fundamentals to back it up. The last one is JP Morgan. And the dividend here is 2.66%, definitely sustainable. But I see with JP Morgan, because of rules from the Federal Reserve and money that they've been given, and the stress test and all that, that banks are now allowed to buy back stock and raise their dividend payouts. So I see that these big banks as a lot of potential to raise dividends, not just pay dividends. And historically, companies that pay a decent dividend, that consistently raise a dividend, have done pretty well. There's an ETF for that if you'd like to follow. The symbol is VIG, VIG. It's the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF. You could take a look at that. And that ETF focuses on large cap companies that have consistently raised their dividend. Okay, so that's about it. I'm going to go back. Let's cut back. I want to do a transition. Let's see if we could do a transition. Did that work? No. Okay, let's go back to auto. Transition. Watch this. Look at that. I'm having so much fun. All right, so that's about it. And I thank you all for watching. If you think of any questions that you have after this, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to keep an eye out for those. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.